You also hear what I speak. So now I have both visual communication as well as auditory communication, right? Visual and auditory communication. So that is to say that we are communicating with each other. Similarly, many other animals also communicate with each other. And this communication that is seen among animals is what you call animal communication. Now, I'll tell you first what is meant by animal communication, and then before I go further, I will introduce a particular model to explain the communication. It's what you call a basic model. And then animals communicate with each other using various methods visually. That's what you call visual communication. And by the sound, they communicate. That's what you call the auditory communication. And animals also communicate with each other using chemical, olfactory communication. And the animals also communicate with each other by touch, tactile communication, and sometimes by electric fields. So it's what you call the electric communication. And then towards the end of the lecture session, I'll tell about the major factors that contribute to the proper choice of proper communication channel. What factors are responsible to decide which communication mode that I should use, right? The animal should use. We'll talk about that, and then finally we will talk about the major functions of communication. Right now, what is communication? Now, communication in ethology, in animal behavior, is defined as the passage of information between animals, where the information, we call that the information a signal, produced by one animal, causes a behavioral change, a response of another animal, in a way beneficial to one or both. Communication is the passage of information between animals, where the information produced by one animal causes a behavioral change of another animal, in a way beneficial to one or both. එක් සතිකු විසින් නිපදවන යම්කිසි සංඥාවක් මගින් ඒ ග්‍රහණය කරනු ලබන සත්වයෙකුගේ යම්කිසි චර්යාමය වෙනසක් එක්කෝ එම සතාට එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔවුන් දෙදෙනාටම වාසි සහගත වන ආකාරයට සිදුවන තොරතුරු හුවමාරුවක් තමයි අපි කියන්නේ communication එකක් කියලා. Right? Now this is the basic definition for communication in animal behavior, in ethology. Passage of information between animals, where the information produced by one animal causes a behavioral change of another animal in a way beneficial to one or both. Now, look at this photograph here. Now, we have a snow bear and a baby snow bear, right? Now, it looks like the mother is listening to the baby, isn't it? That's what you see in this photograph, right? So, now the baby is the sender of that message. So, it has something to tell, let's say that way, right? So it has to encode the idea in a proper way. The idea has to be informed to the mother. The idea that occurs in the baby should be informed to the mother. And that information is sent by a message. So after the message is generated, it is transmitted to the mother. In return, what happens is that the mother recovers the message and then she understands, decode, and then shows the appropriate response. That's exactly what we all do, don't we? So the information producer, we call it the signaler. So it has a particular idea and he converts that idea into a message and the message is then transmitted. The receiver in the other extreme recovers the message, decodes it, understands it, and then shows the response. Perhaps the response is beneficial to her or to, in this case, to both of them. So I'm coming back to this definition again, passage of information between animals where the information produced by one animal causes a behavioral change of another animal in a way beneficial to one or both. Now look at this. Now here, now we have a deer. What you see is that this deer is jumping up. It jumps up and then it falls on the ground and immediately it jumps up, then falls, jumps up, falls, jumps up, falls. By doing so, a kind of a sound is generated, right? And that is a message. And that message is recovered by the other fellow members in the group, in the herd. Perhaps this animal is informing, well, there is a predator, an enemy coming. So you all should run for cover. You see, while it was jumping up, what you see is a white color patch in the backside of this animal, which we call the rump. Rump. Once it is, the tail is put into a standing position, the white area under the, the tail is visible. So that also a kind of a signal given to the fellow members of the group. Well, there is an enemy coming. So it's best that you all run for cover. Now here, all of them are in the same species. Now look at the other two photographs. Here a man is cuddling a pony, a baby deer, where the man belongs into one species and the other one into another species. Here another example. Here we have a deer and a bird, big bird, right? It appears to us now that they are like talking. Well, they are communicating. I don't know what they are discussing, but there is communication being going on, right? So this is a communication that happens between two different species. Here, the communication occurs among the members of the same species. Now, the communication that occurs among the members of the same species is what you call intraspecific communication. Intraspecific communication. Now I communicate with you, right? So that is intraspecific communication. Antah vishesha sannivedanaya. Here in the other example, it is interspecific communication. Now, for example, you have cats and you have dogs in your home, right? You touch their head. Now when you go somewhere, your dog follows you, and when you eat, your cat perhaps jumps to your lap and then asks for some food. So that is again a kind of interspecific communication. Okay, now with all this, I'm going to make a basic model for communication. So I forgot to record this. Okay,
recording in progress.
You should have informed me. So the recorded version will be uploaded, right? Sorry. 25, no, yeah, nearly 20 minutes have passed, but 20 minutes passed, but only now I remembered to, record it. Okay, anyway, let me make a drawing. Okay, can you all see the screen, the white screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. Now, well, I am going to make a drawing, and in this drawing, you see, I have an animal. Let me call this animal A, and I have another animal. Let me call it animal B. Okay. Now, this animal A produces a signal, and the signal is sent to animal B. As a result of the signal receiving, the animal B shows a behavioral change. Change of behavior. Now, in the animal A is the one who produced the signal. Therefore, animal A is called the signaler. And the animal B that receives the message is called the receiver. We have a signaler that produces the message, and we have another animal that receives the message. And the message is sent. A sends the message to B through a communication channel. Sannivedana madhya. So the signaler, like I said, produces the signal. Receiver recovers the signal. As a response of recovering the signal, we can observe that there is a certain behavioral change in the receiver, and the message signal is sent to the receiver through various communication channels. Sometimes the message is sent visually. When a vision is used for communication, in the communication, we say that there is visual communication between A and B. When there, if for the communication channel, if the sound is used, then we say an auditory communication has happened. Sometimes it could be a chemical. Then it is olfactory communication. Rasayanika sannivedanaya. Or it could be touch. Tactile communication. Or it could be the electric field. That is electric communication. So on. Now this entire diagram is really the basic model for communication. Now, if A and B belongs to the same species, then that is intra-specific communication. If A and B in two different species, that is inter-specific communication. Did you all understand this? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let me go back to my previous presentation. So, see, now this is what I told. Now, for example, we have a lion. Now, it is advancing towards a deer, in this case, an antelope, right? And upon seeing the lion, the antelope runs. So it's the lion that produced the signal, and it is recovered by the antelope. So, and it then decides to run away. That's its decision. So based on what I told, then this is the model that we can create for communication. Now we have a signaler or the signal producer, and we have the receiver, the signal receiver, and the signal producer produces a signal. Information is coded, and that coded message is what you call the signal. Signal is sent to the receiver through various communication channels. If it is vision, then it is the channel is what you call a communication channel, visual channel. And if it is sound, it is auditory channel. In that case, auditory communication. Chemical substance, olfactory channel, olfactory communication, tactile channel, tactile communication, and electric field, electrical channel, and electrical communication, so on. So this is, never forget this basic model. If you understand this basic model clearly, you'll be able to understand the remaining part of the lecture as well. Now, again, a repetition of what is indicated in that earlier slide, in that earlier model. Now we have a signaler in the basic communication model, a signaler, and the signal, the receiver, the communication channel. So animals, different animals use different communication channels. Now, like I already explained to you, now I'm using the visual communication, because you all see me talking, right? You see my gestures, you see my body movement, etc. Right? You also hear my voice. So, I am sending my message, and you understand it, and that is decoded. You decode it, you understand it, right? Perhaps if you are very keen of what you are learning now, you are making some notes. That's the change of your behavior, right? We also use, we humans, we use chemicals to, communicate with each other. We have olfactory communication. I'll tell about those olfactory communication in the slides to come. And then we touch each other, tactile communication. For example, in a crowded bus, when you commute in a crowded bus, sometimes we feel that some people touch, to which we respond, right? Not only touch, so many things happen in crowded buses, right? I don't need to tell about those things, to which we always respond. That is to say that a kind of a tactile communication has occurred, right? And then some animals use electric fields. I'll tell about some interesting details about those things later. So with this, now we move to talk about the visual communication, right? So visual communication involves, the signals, the information that can be seen. Now look at this person, right? Now he is, okay, one time, perhaps he was very pensive, like me, very calm. But in the next moment, you see that, right? So there was a sudden, is related to vision, and that is seen by another person, right? So sometimes these visual signals are given as body movements, like in the first one. Now look at this, the girl in here. So I know that we have lots of boys. Now what do you, a person, something like that?
Yes, inviting gaze.
Yeah, inviting gaze. Yes. So it's the facial expressions, right? So you see, now sometimes now this is also facial expression. See, sneering, right? And this one, another facial expression, right? And then the color change, right? I tell about those things, color change, and then the way the body is kept, the body is held, the posture of the body, and sometimes bioluminescence. That's what you call the light production that is seen in fireflies, right? So all these things are involved in visual communication, right? Now, let me show you some other examples as well, right? Now, this, I think I have told about this particular lizard. This lizard is what you call anolis. Anolis. Now, this is how the animal, usually looks, generally how it appears, right? But when an enemy comes, right? When an enemy comes, what happens is that it raises your head like this. It tilts its head. And immediately what happens is that something red under the chin, which we call the gala area, the gala pouch, or which we call the throat pouch, right? It's red in color, and it is exposed, and at the same time, it is inflated like a red balloon, right? It is inflated like a red balloon. So the enemy, now the enemy sees, well, something, is inflating right in front of me with a dangerous color, the red, right? Well, I should go away. So the enemy, it becomes afraid, perhaps it runs away, right? So this particular behavior ensures its safety. You see, now in the normal state, this is how the animal appears. Then this is how the animal appears when it is active. Now, another example, this particular baboon, I'm showing you only the backside of the baboon, right? This baboon is what you call a mandrill baboon. It's seen in, it lives in Africa, right? And I'm talking about the females, right? Usually the skin around the buttock, in the buttock, hairless, and it is usually pink. During the reproductive stage, right? This buttock area swells, it enlarges, and also it becomes somewhat red. Because takal gediyak වෙනවා මේ බැබුණිගේ මේ පසපැත්ත ප්‍රජනනයෙන් කාලේ. Now this is a message, and the message is, well, I am ready to mate. That is the message, right? That is the message given by these reddish swollen buttocks in the female baboon, right? Now, you all have seen the other one as well. Here we have a dog, very vigilant, but if the dog is angry or agitated, this is how the dog appears. See the dog in its natural state, in its general state, and how the dog appears when it is angry. It opens the mouth, and at the same time, the lips are curled back, so the teeth, particularly these long canine teeth, are very well exposed, right? Making the message, that's the kind of message given. You understand? So a dog, when it is angry or when it is agitated, it growls, and at the same time it snarls, barks, right? And at the same time it exposes, opens the mouth in order to give a high-pitched sound. And when doing so, the huge canine, the long canine teeth, the weapons the dog has to fight, right, is shown. Well, I'll give some other examples as well. You see, a normal baboon. This is how the face is, right? Now, when it is angry, right, it tilts the head up and then opens the mouth, and at the same time it growls. It makes a huge cry, which is heard for many kilometers, right? You see, what is prominent in this photograph is this. While it is doing, you see these long canines. Do you see this? These long canines, the weapons it has is clearly visible. So the message given is, well, I'm now going to be dangerous to you all. Another very common example, a kitten or a dog, right? When startled, when afraid, what happens is that, its body hair, they get erected. That's what you call piloerection. Erection of the hair of the skin, right? Well, now there is a common pattern in all these things. In all these things, there is a common pattern. In all these examples, there is a common pattern. See, here in this previous slide, the general size of the body, it is made bigger. The general size, it is made bigger. You see, here again, the general size of the body is made bigger. The same thing happens in here as well, right? Now, this happens in humans as well. When we use our, visual communication, these are the facial expressions. You see, the eyes, enlarge when someone is angry, right? And the mouth opens, right? And usually you see the hands are kept around the waist like this. The general size of the body is made bigger, right? And also the legs are kept apart, right? By doing all these things, the message given is, I'm somewhat powerful. I'm going to over-dominate you, right? I'm dangerous. That's the message given. Okay, now with all these things, we are going to learn about the visual communication in bees. Visual communication in bees. You see, in bees, I remember I told you once, in a beehive, there are about, they live in a particular house. Right? It's not exactly the house that we live in, but the house where the bees live is what we call a beehive. A beehive. Now, in a beehive, there are about 70,000 to 80,000 bees. Okay. Now, the bees in the beehive can be categorized, grouped into 3 classes or 3 categories. We call them the bee castes. The first caste is what you call the queen caste. We have only one queen in a bee colony. The second category is the caste worker bees. Now the queen is a female. Worker bees are also females. Now in a beehive, let's say there are about 80,000 bees in the hive. There are about 7 in a beehive of about 80,000, right? There are about 76,000 of them are worker bees. They are sterile. They cannot reproduce. The queen is fertile. And the third category is what you call the drones. They are males. Now about 4,000 individuals. In a beehive where there are about 8,000 bees. Okay. Now they have different functions. The queen's function is there are two major functions. The first function of the queen is to lay eggs. She is like an egg-laying machine. She lays eggs in the morning, during the daytime, at night, without any rest. She keeps on laying eggs. And in addition to that, she produces several pheromones. I will talk about the pheromones when we discuss about the olfactory communication. And these pheromones are useful to keep all the members in the hive as a society, right? So the queen has performs two major jobs. Number one, egg production. Number two, keeping the colony as a group. The drones, only thing they do is to reproduce with the queen, right? That's the only thing that they do. They don't work, right? They don't work. But the worker bees, they are the guys in the beehive that do all sort of things. Now, for example, feed the queen, right? The queen has to be fed, for which the queen needs a special food. That's what you call the royal jelly. Now, the royal jelly is produced by the worker bees. So they produce this royal jelly, and then that is fed to the queen. Then attending all the other needs of the queen, right? And then going in search of nectar and pollen. Now, what you see in this photograph is a worker bee collecting nectar from flowers and pollen, again from flowers, right? And then transporting the nectar and the pollen from the flower fields back to the hive, storing them, converting the nectar to honey, building the cells in the hive, feeding the drones, right? And then air conditioning. Inside the hive it is very hot. So some of the worker bees, sit at the entrance, and then they rhythmically, beat the wings. That way, the air is pushed in, and the bad air inside the bad hot air inside the hive is pushed out, right? That's what you call air conditioning. And then bringing water, fighting the enemies, all sort of things are doing by the worker bees. Now, worker bees, they in the morning they fly into different directions in search of flowers. But to do that, they need to collect nectar and pollen. So if now some bees are successful while some others are unsuccessful. So the unsuccessful bees, the bees who could not find any food, will fly back. But the successful bees, the bees who found a lot of flowers, will come back with a full load of nectar and pollen. And after coming back, the bee, which we call now the scout bee, we called it the scout because it is the one who went in searching for nectar and pollen, right? The scout bee tells the other worker bees, well, I found a flower garden. Now you have to go and bring the nectar and pollen, right? But problem is they cannot talk, they cannot speak, can they? They cannot speak. So these bees inform about the flower source and also the direction where it is found by a particular kind of dance language, right? So this dance language was discovered by Carl von Frisch. I think I remember I told you about this person, Carl von Frisch. That was in 1965, after many decades. Some people say that it is about 3 decades. Really, we are not that, disciplined, right? So then he understood 2 types of dance languages performed by the scout bees. Now, one type of dance is what you call the round dance, and the other one is what you call the waggle dance, right? Round dance and the waggle dance. Okay, now before that, I must tell you the distance a bee usually flies. Now, suppose that if we have the beehive in here, right? So our flower field could be, sorry, this is the hive, right? Our flower field could be anywhere inside this circle, and the circle, the radius is about 2 kilometers. That is to say that a bee can fly up to a distance of maximum 2 kilometers away from the hive, but still it comes back, right? Still it comes back. So now you see, if the flowers are closer, then it does not, cost a lot of energy for the bees to fly, right? But if it is far, the flower beds, it is very far, then, if the direction is not indicated properly, then it's a waste of lot of energy, waste of time of the other bees, isn't it? Therefore, based on the distance and the direction, the 2 dances are performed. Now let me explain to you about these 2 dances. Now let's first consider about the round dance. Now the round dance is performed when the flower source is closer, well, less than 100 meters away from the hive. So what the bee does is that the bee would, run along the circle, then immediately turns back, and then it goes back to its original position, and then it runs back. And the message given is the flowers are closer, very, very close, just go and search. While she is, dancing, she is, making the round dance, she regurgitates the nectar and also the pollen, so that as samples, so that the other onlooker bees can taste it, and they know exactly what kind of the flower is available around, right? So this is what you call the round dance. Now you should understand the round dance is performed when the food source is closer, right? It is performed when the food source is closer, right? Now let's try to understand the other kind of dance. That's what you call the waggle dance. Now the waggle dance, let me let me draw the waggle dance in this same slide. Now the waggle dance, here this is how it is performed. See, now I have the bee here. Can you see the bee?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the bee, runs along a semicircle, and then turns back, comes along the other side, and then it goes again, waggling the backside very rapidly, and then comes back. Now, this particular dance is what you call the tail waggle dance, is very different to the round dance. So here, this has, you know, a particular direction. Now, this stretch is what you call the waggle stretch. Now, the waggle stretch, it shows the direction. But how? That is the biggest question. Okay. Now, the waggle dance is performed when the food source is far. When the food source, when the flowers are more than 100 meters away. Say about, well, now I am in California, so it's like saying that my the flower bed that I found was somewhere in Kiribati. Then නිකන් හිතන්න දැන් මේ කැම්පස් එක අපි බීහයිව් එක කියලා ගත්තොත් එහෙනම් කිරිබත්ගොඩ මේ ඒක තමයි 2 කිලෝමීටර්ස් maximum length එක කියලා හිතන්නකො. ඉතින් ඕක වටේට ලොකු දුරක් දැන් circle එකක් ඔයගොල්ලෝ අඳගන්න පුළුවන් නේ. දැන් ඔය මුළු දුරම මල් හොයා ඵලයල්ලා කියලා කියන එක අසාධාරණයිනේ නේද? ඒ නිසා හරියට මම දිශාව කියන්නේ. මම දිශාව I have to tell the direction, right? You see, now the waggle dance actually it communicates not only the distance, right? The relative distance as well. Now you see here, now there are two waggle dances, right? Now here the waggle run, the waggle stretch is somewhat longer. Here the waggle run is somewhat shorter. Still, the flowers are more than 100 meters away, right? Let's say this one is 250 meters. Let's say this is about 2000 meters. So when the flower is somewhat, the flower source is somewhat far, then the waggle run is long. When the waggle run is shorter, that indicates, well, the flower source is somewhat closer, but not very close. It's still over 100 meters, but it's not that far. Okay, do you get the idea? So it indicates the distance. That's number one. Then the other thing. Now, can anyone of you tell me what's the other thing that the dance should indicate? If you all are listening.
Direction.
Yes, the direction. Yes, the direction. Now, how is the direction indicated? How it is communicated? The direction. Now, look at this. These two diagrams. Now I have downloaded all these diagrams from the internet. Now see here the hive. The okay ඇතුලේ තියෙන ළමයි අර මේ වද කියනවා. හරි. නිකන් මට එක පෙන්නන්න අමාරුයි. මම මේ විදිහට ගන්නකො. මම ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මේ විදිහට දෙකක් කොළ දෙකක් දාලා තියෙනවා. ඒ මේ වද නිකන් සිරස් අතට එල්ලෙන්නේ. සිරස් අතට. හරිද? එතකොට මේවා අතර මහ දුරක් නෑ. About half a centimeter. Sorry. Yeah, the gap is about 1 centimeter. Right? Between these two, combs. These are called combs. Right? Then, මේක සිරස් අතර තමයි මේගොල්ලන්ට මේක මේ නැටුම රඟ දක්වන්නේ. Okay. Now here, if a bee, performs the waggle stretch. See, now I will draw the dance. So this is the direction it gives. So the direction, it says that you have to fly to this direction. Then make an උඩ පැත්තට නටලා පෙන්නුවොත් එහෙනම් ඒක මේ අහසට යන්නේ කියලා කියන්නේ එහෙමද මල් කඩන්න. දිව්‍ය ලෝකේ තමයි මල් තියෙනවා කියන්නේ. No, it's not that, right? So it always, when dancing, when performing the waggle dance, the dance is performed in relation to something, and that something is really the sun, right? So if the sun is, well, now it knows where the sun is. So if now the sun is in here, right, then that is, well, sun comes from the east, then you will have to fly to 90 degrees. What is this direction? If this is east, what is this direction? Can anyone tell?
The south.
Yeah, you have to fly south. If you fly south, then you will find your flowers, right? Then if this is east, right, again, I forgot to tell you something, and that something is, you know, these flies, these bees usually collect nectar in the morning or in the afternoon, right? So in the morning, you know very well from where the sun rises, and in the afternoon, you know very well from where the sun, you know, sinks. So morning and evening, easy to tell the direction of the sun. At noon, they do not go in search of, you know, nectar and pollen. Okay, right. Now, if the waggle stretch is to this direction, then you will have to fly north. Well, on the other hand, if the waggle stretch, it's possible that the waggle stretch is like this. Up means sun. Now this is the 90 degrees. Now this is 45. If this is 45, then what is this direction? Now this is done in the morning. This is east.
The southeast.
Yeah, southeast. So likewise, you know, the communication, this waggle dance communicates the direction very well. Okay, is this clear? I think so. So I will, after the lecture, I will, I will upload the recording. So if you want, you can, you know, listen to this, and if not, just read. You can print the lecture, right? And then when you consider about the body posture, now I told you the body posture, you know, tells so many different information. Now this is very clearly seen in dogs. Now, for example, if the dog, you know, the ear flaps here, right? The ears pointed down. Now it's somewhat alert. Now it is anxious, you see, and this is very relaxed. You know, we have different, you know, we can understand these body postures of dogs. Similarly, we can understand the body postures of other persons as well. If a person is friendly, you see, this is what we do, right? You see, this is a kind of body posture. So it's like saying you are very welcome, right? Like that. Okay, then now in humans, see, different messages are given. What is this? Can any one of you tell? What is the kind of message the facial expression gives?
Angry.
Angry. Yeah, this one, she is somewhat shocked, doesn't she? What? And she expresses kind of disgust, and she is over jubilant now. So she is calm in the middle here, right? Then, so likewise, you know, we also have different types of facial expressions. Depending upon the facial expression, then the message is different. Now, color displays, another kind of visual communication. Now, I believe that almost all of you have seen this particular bird, the beautiful birds, what you call the yellow magpie, or sometimes called goldfinch, yellow magpie, Right? Now, during the breeding season, now they have a particular breeding season, right? Animals have breeding season, except the humans. We are ready to breed throughout the year. We are a kind of a anytime ever ready kind of animal, right? It's only us who can do that, anytime ever ready. But many other animals in the animal kingdom, they have different, breeding seasons. So during the breeding season, right, there are body feathers. Basically, these the back and the breast areas, the body feathers, turn very bright yellow color. And another very common example is the peacock. During the breeding season, the peacock, performs a dance, expanding its tail feathers. Now, this is a kind of a visual signal given. Now, this signal helps to attract many females to it. Right? I have told about this. This is a very dangerous signal pattern because this attracts predators as well. Right? And again, I remember I told you about the fiddler crabs. Now, the fiddler crabs, it's a special kind of crab, right? Here, now they have claws, right? The right claw of the fiddler crab is bigger, very big than the other one, right? And it is also brightly colored during it becomes, bright colored during the breeding season. So, but the males do is, only the males would have this bigger one, right? They perform a kind of a dance in front of the females, and the females are attracted to the males. Now, the dance and the color pattern vary from species to species. So, depending on it, the females attracting to them also differ, right? So, not only that, when you consider about the color visual communication, we cannot forget about the poison frogs, right? Now, these colors, yellow, red, and the green, yellow, red, and blue. These three colors are regarded as dangerous colors in the animal world: blue, yellow, and red, right? Now, these three, these are known as poison frogs, right? They are called poison frogs because if you touch them, they are amphibians. Now, they have mucus glands, right? And somewhere in the backside, somewhere in the right behind the neck, there is a special gland, what we call the parotid gland. It's not the parotid gland that we have in our throat, right? And this gland secretes a special kind of mucus, and that mucus is somewhat toxic, right? Now, how toxic it is? It sometimes causes, eye irritation, sometimes kind of a burning sensations like that, right? And some, people in Amazon, they kill the frogs and then collect the poison, and then they apply the poison on the arrowheads, and then shoot at animals so that others will be incapacitated immediately because of the poison contained in it, right? So these are the poison frogs, so they are bright colored. That indicates, don't eat me, I'm dangerous. That's the kind of message given by these beautiful color combinations. So another visual communication is seen in fireflies, right? See, have you seen fireflies? When we were small, there were lots of fireflies around, but it's very unfortunate that we have fireflies around, but not much. Now, if an animal produces light not necessarily an animal, you know, animals and plants also, right? They produce light, right? They produce light. And if an animal produces light, this light is not at all hot like sunlight, right? It's very, it's neutral. And this is what you call bioluminescence. Bioluminescence. Jaiva sandiptiya kiyala thamai mekata kiyanne. Now, bioluminescence is caused by a particular chemical reaction which is unique to some fireflies, this one is what you call a jellyfish, and another kind of animals. I'll ask about these animals later, but this again another animal is called an anglerfish, right? So these animals, they house a particular substance what you call luciferine, right? Then in the presence of oxygen and in the presence of a unique enzyme called luciferase, this luciferine is converted into oxyluciferine, is oxidized, and this is a reaction that gives off light. Sorry, a light emitting reaction, right? And so if an animal or any organism who is capable of performing this particular chemical reaction should produce light, bioluminescence. This is exactly the reaction that happens in fireflies, right? Now, this is an anglerfish. Why it is called an anglerfish? Because now at the back side, there is a fin, what you call the dorsal fin. Now, a part of the dorsal fin is elongated, right? A part of it is elongated, and at the tip of that elongation, there is somewhat an enlarged portion where this particular reaction takes place. So, it emits light. So the animals who are around it would be lured by this light and will come closer to it. What happens next is that it would be caught by this animal. So this serves as a kind of a prey catching device, right? Now, what is this? Now, this is a jellyfish, right? There are beautiful documentaries in the YouTube about bioluminescence, right? If you, I know that these days almost all of you have internet connections, right, to your phones or to your, your laptop. So please watch these documentaries. They are free. Of course, you'll have to pay for the internet. That's not a big deal, I think. And there are beautiful documentaries, right? Now, can you guess what this animal is? There are two animals. Do you want to make it bigger? No, I cannot. Hello?
It's a squid, the two squids.
Yeah, it's a squid. You see, the normal size is like this. See, there is the eye here, right? There are those long tentacles. So now this kind of bioluminescence, light production helps the animals to communicate in dark places. Now the anglerfish, the jellyfish, this one, and the squids. These bioluminescent squids, they live in dark areas in the sea. Right now, the fireflies, what you see in this photograph is that they, communicate at night. So this light production helps the animal only at night, right? Now you see, these light trails, they are quite different. You see the light patterns. Now here, it lights and then switch off, lights again, lights again, lights again, lights again, lights again, lights again, so on. Then there are some other species who show different light patterns. Now, for example, they keep the light for a particular period and then stop and then stop, 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 so on, right? And then some long period, flash again, long period, flash again, long period, flash again, long period, flash again, so on. Now these different color combination, these patterns, the light patterns are adopted by different firefly species. Understand, right? So the fireflies use the bioluminescence for species-specific communication. Interesting, isn't it? So now I'll tell you about the advantages and disadvantages of visual communication, right? Now, if you consider about the advantage, now light can be seen over long distances, isn't it? Therefore, light visual communication is a kind of a long distance communication. It can be used while moving. Then it is very fast. That is because the light travels very fast. And it is effective in all the directions. Now, for example, if a firefly, produce light up in the sky, then it is visible to all the other, females on the ground. They are graded. Now, for example, you see, we have a dog here. Now, see how it tilts the body up. While it is tilting, at the lower level, it shows a different signal, whereas in here, it shows a different signal, right? So therefore, what we can conclude is that the visual signal is graded. And then for passive signals, like for example, poison frogs, right? There you don't have to use any kind of energy to produce that signal, and there are disadvantages as well. Now, for example, if you communicate with another member, right, using light, then you must have a clear line of sight. Then another danger is that the visual signal, it can be misinterpreted by a predator. Now, for example, like I told you, a peacock, right? It dances by expanding its tail feathers, but this not only attracts the females, but it also attracts the predators as well, its enemies. It's equally dangerous and equally helpful, right? And this kind of visual communication is effective mostly during the daytime, right? Except the fireflies, the bioluminescence, right? And then for active visual signals, communication, certain amount of energy is necessary. For example, you see now for the light production, ATP was necessary, isn't it? Now, for me to talk, for me to make these body gestures, etc., to communicate with you again, a certain amount of energy is necessary, right? And this is somewhat limited to. Please. No, it's not right. Produce, etc. Okay, so that's about the visual communication that I have to tell you in this lecture. So next time we will learn about the auditory communication and other types of communication as well, right?